Dan Illman, Mike Beer kicking off a 50-cent pick four on Wood Memorial Saturday with Grade 1 stakes action. Race number 8 at the Big A, the Grade 1 Carter. Let's take a look at this field of sprinters getting set to go 7/8 of a mile. The number 6, White Abario, came down with a sickness. He will miss this race. The 4, Repo Rocks, is going to go favored. A perfect 4 for 4 since being taken over by Jamie Ness, including a 111 Beyer speed figure the last time he sprinted, and he overcame trouble last time out.
Yeah, he's not the kind of horse, I think, if you've been paying attention to New York racing the last couple of years, Dan, not the kind of horse you would expect to be the morning line favorite in the Grade 1 Carter. But here we are. He sort of turned his life around. It's a big scratch in this race with White Abario coming out because he felt like the main danger.
He's a pretty versatile horse, Repo Rocks. Let's see where our friends at Timeform US place him on their pace projector. It's a scenario that favors front runners, according to Timeform US, and Repo Rocks is in mid-pack. The speed on the inside is the one, Today's Flavor.
Today's Flavor is pretty fast. He's got the rail here, stepping up in class, going 7. He's obviously going to be on ascend in this race, Dan. And, you know, he's a horse who's got a lot to prove, but he's been steadily getting better, and he was pretty impressive winning his most recent start.
Repo Rocks is 4 for 4 for Jamie Ness. Today's Flavor is a New York bred who is unbeaten from 4 starts since moving into the George Weaver shed row, including this performance against open first-level allowance competition, going 3/4 of a mile. Today's Flavor got to the lead, and he drew off to win, as an odds-on favorite should. First try against stakes competition, but the lead is his for the taking. We'll see if he can get 7 against top horses. I think 7 will be okay.
I do too. He's a fast horse, and he's in obviously really good form right now. But this is also a big test for him, Dan. Just facing some much better horses in this race. He ran really well last time. There was another horse in that race who decided to try to take the race to him at 2 to 5, and he just put that horse away and won very easily. It's going to be pressure from some better horses in this race. We'll see if he's up for it.
But he did earn a 99 Beyer speed figure for that start. He's 6-1 on the morning line. Manny Franco takes the mount. The number 2 is Bold Journey, another New York bred, coming into this race sharp off a victory against second-level state-bred foes. Let's watch that race. 3/4 of a mile at Aqueduct. He brushes to the front on the outside, and he goes about his business to win, and he got a nice figure, a 96 for Bill Mott.
I like this performance from him. He got a good trip in this race, but he always looked like he was going to win, and then he wins very impressively, I thought. He also ran well 2 back. Today's Flavor beat him, but Today's Flavor also bumped this horse pretty hard out of the gate. He wound up last and then made a really nice run, I thought, to get up for second. I think he's starting to finally find himself, Dan. This is a horse who started out his career with a little bit of potential for Mott. It took him a while to finally get back into form, but I felt like he started doing that towards the end of last year, and his last 2 races are good.
The number 3, Expressman, is very lightly raced. He's moving from route to sprint for trainer Todd Pletcher, but you don't worry about 7/8 if you believe the Beyer speed figure for this horse's career debut, a 107 at Saratoga last summer. He's coming into this race in good form off a victory at Gulfstream Park against first-level allowance horses. This was at 1 1/8, Mike. He took some pace pressure. It looks like he might be in a little bit of hot water, but he's odds on, and he's just better than Montauk Point.
He's going to fight back to get the job here done. He did not have the lead for much of this stretch run, but I guess you could give him credit for being game. He's going to come back and win here at 2 to 5. It's not a particularly impressive performance. Maybe the 1 1/8 doesn't really suit him, and cutting back will help. But you're still talking about a horse who somehow just ran a huge figure first time out. He's part of an entry that I don't think he was the part of the Pletcher entry that they were betting, but he's the one who won really impressively. Since then, I think his races are kind of so-so.
Repo Rocks is the number 4, and he was always a solid horse when he was with other trainers. Multiple graded stakes place. He has taken a step forward with Ness, obviously, including this win in the Stymie going a 1-turn mile, a race in which in the early stages he was sort of down inside, in behind horses. Andrew Wolfson does get him into the 3-path to split rivals, and he's just better in the stretch. He draws off to win with another good Beyer.
Good performance. As you mentioned, Dan, they just sort of dragged him back to put him in the pocket early in this race. That doesn't always work out, but it worked out here. He wins easily again, and this is off the heels of a really impressive win at the Toboggan. I don't know if it's fair to expect this horse to run another 111 or a figure like that again, but his form's just really good since Ness has taken over. He's way the horse to beat now.
Repo Rocks blew away Little Vic in the toboggan. Little Vic came back to win the Tom Fool. You have to wonder if last time was the time. He got a very nice trip in this race under Carlos Olivero, tracking 3 wide behind the pace setters, making that advance on that path over the muddy surface. And once he made the lead, he was never threatened against a weaker group. He does have the tactical speed to work out these kind of trips, and he is coming off a fast race, a 102 buyer. He is a horse with some talent, unfortunately with the scratch, any sort of value probably dissipates.
Yeah, that's certainly fair, Dan. We'll see though. I mean, I don't think it would be, that surprising if he was able to make it a little bit closer with Repo Rocks this time. He was no match in that toboggan, but he did come back and run that race that we just showed. It was a good performance off of a good trip. I also felt like, his City of Laurel, when he won that back in November going this distance, he ran well that day. His Gravesend was good when he just missed. So this horse is in good form. He could take one more step forward here.
Completing the field is another horse moving from route to sprint. That's the 7 Doppelganger, who was graded stakes placed earlier in his career for Bob Baffert, is now 2 for 2 since being transferred to the Brittany Russell barn in Maryland, including this race going a 1-turn mile at Laurel. This is a second-level allowance. Doppelganger was favored. Doppelganger got a good trip in here. Doppelganger got the job done. Now he's got to start running faster races, and maybe if this pace does not materialize, he could be in trouble cutting back in distance, because it looks like he would appreciate a little bit of hitting up front.
Yeah, I agree with that. He's the kind of horse. I mean, there's nothing wrong with his 2 races since Russell took over and brought him back from the layoff, but it's not like this is the most impressive win in the world, Dan. I mean, he got a really good trip in here. He can't get away through the stretch, but he was never in danger of losing either. I mean, I do feel like there could be a forward move coming. It would have to be a pretty big one if Repo Rock shows up.
Top pick time for the Carter. Kickoff leg of a 50-cent pick 4. Mike, you're going with Repo Rocks, and why not? He's got the fast race 2 back going 7/8, where he beat Little Vic, my top selection. He overcame the traffic last time out, and he's versatile. He's just the horse to beat.
Yeah, I mean, I would have happily taken a shot against him with White Abarrio in this race, Dan, but White Abarrio's not running.
Little Vic, to me, ran well last time out. Whether it was because he got away from Repo Rocks is another story. I think he's always had some talent. We're looking for a good trip. I'd like to see him try to get the jump on Repo Rocks, maybe sitting second in the early part of this race behind the 1. 4-2-5-1 for Mike, 5-1-4-3 for me. It's the Grade 1 Carter on Wood Memorial Saturday. Good luck.